Today, I want to start off this video with me reading the memo I took. Yeah, so I just wrote it down, so sometimes some part of the sentences are not going to make sense, but please don't mind it. So, allow yourself to live your life easy mode. Allow yourself to ask for help when you need it. Allow yourself to accept new concept of life if old ones are not serving anymore. Allow yourself to see and experience life as miraculous, magical, beautiful thing instead of suffering. Allow yourself to receive anything because you're worthy. Allow yourself to the idea that not everything has to make sense and has to have reasons. Allow yourself to let go of the things that no longer belong to you and work for you. Allow your life to be so simple and fun and effortless. Allow yourself to let go of the beliefs you picked up from others. Allow your life to just naturally work for you. We hold on to the ideas of things have to be or work out this way or that way, or you need to be this or that. You're supposed to be doing this or that in your life right now, etc. But have you ever considered the opposite? Perhaps things don't need to work out your way. You don't need to be a certain way that society or people around you want you to be, or life doesn't need to be hard and difficult and suffering. Even after considering the opposite of your current beliefs, and if these excite, ignite, or motivate you, then you can keep them. But if the opposite of your current beliefs evoke positive, uplifting emotions and feelings inside of you, then allow yourself to start buy into that and allow yourself to explore these beliefs. Allow it to be part of you. Allow it to lead you. Allow it to guide you. So, yeah, allow yourself. Sometimes when I see people or living their lives, some people are attracting and manifesting things so much faster, so much easier than how I am doing. So, and they are trying to help others to do the same as that person. But sometimes I have this resistance or friction to the idea of life is I have this limited beliefs, or I have this, I'm holding on to this idea of life should be hard, life should be complicated, life should be, it's not like I'm intentionally thinking life should be hard, life should be suffering, life should be so much pain, life should be so much hard, dark. No, but yeah, so life should not be that simple. Life cannot be that simple. Life, no way it is that simple. Perhaps life is so much simpler than we make it to be, make it as, you know what I mean. So it's actually so much simpler. It's actually simpler and easier and effortless. But I realized that I was the one who was making my life harder, darker, complicated, or so much suffering, so much painful, so much these things. But nothing is wrong with them, but it had been just too much for me. So I just started to see things differently. I was just trying to do the opposite of what I was doing back then, when I saw my life as negative and dark and heavy and very painful. I used to think that life is all about suffering and how much you can endure painful situation and traumatic situation after traumatic situation. But now I don't see it that way, but I used to be. But I decided to allow myself to the idea of life is very miraculous and beautiful and exciting, fun, enjoyable thing. and it actually worked for me, because for me that idea of like, you know, life being miraculous, beautiful, awesome, like enjoyable, fun, you know, that these ideas like excited me, and like, you know, it got me excited, and like, you know, very like it evoked like so many like positive emotions when I think about it that way. So I allowed myself to see my life that way, like as such, like I said. So, and I thought people hold on to, and you know, including myself obviously, but we hold on to things when we hold on to what we are used to, or what we are, you know, comfortable with. Even the things you're comfortable with is harming you or putting you so much pain, but it doesn't matter because it is give you some sort of comfort. It's contradicting, but I know, and I found it very interesting how the brain or the mind works, because even if it's not serving you, if it's actually, you know, even if it's like, you know, putting you so much pain or putting you so much like uncomfortable, putting you so much in pain, or putting you so much like difficult situations, but once you get used to it, you will, you know, you will find it comfortable in a way, and like, you know, you're gonna want to repeat that cycle. Does that make sense? So even if it's like, I just want to say bad for you, so that's why I said allow yourself like blah blah blah, these things. I know not everything I said you don't need to allow yourself to the idea of the things I said, not necessarily everything, but I thought it's really like crucial for you to, like, you know, allow yourself to live and see things differently, even if it's if it's not serving you anymore, or if it is like, you know, putting you so much pain or sorrow or whatever and negative feeling you're feeling, because that you can also do. And at the end of the day, you get to decide what you want to focus on. Like, you know, everything is just like a double-sided coin, so like everyone talks about. So there's like positive, negative, good, bad. What else? Light, dark? I don't know, but yeah, light and darkness, you know what I mean. So yeah, at the end of the day, what you know. And also I heard like, you know, someone was talking about like human consciousness, or I don't know necessarily it is about like human consciousness, but consciousness we have, like, you know, when we focus on to something, like, you know, it has this feature of, it is like, you know, how can I say, expanding, like, you know, zooming into that what you are focusing on. Does that make sense? That's what I heard. So if you focus on the positive side of everything, and you know, your consciousness will zoom more into the positive side of everything, and you're gonna see more and more and more of the positive side of your life. But it's vice versa, so it's up to you to decide. You can pick either, like, you can pick either side because it's your choice, but I'm here to suggest you or remind you that you can also do the opposite of what you are doing if it's not serving you anymore, or if it's like putting you in a difficult situation. That is very vague statement, I know, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. I don't know why I want to talk about this. I feel called to, so I would just go with it. But I said allow yourself to live your life easy mode. I don't know what's easy mode. I don't know what's easy mode is like, but you know, I used to have this like belief I told you about before, but I used to see my life as very dark, heavy, and like, you know, very like suffocating thing, and really dark and difficult thing. And obviously it was not fun. It was not enjoyable at all whatsoever. And obviously, and everything was dark and heavy. Like, you know, every single turn of event that happens in my life at that time was like, you know, heavy and dark and so much painful and suffocating, because I was focusing on to that, like, you know, side of that I was believing, and I was seeing my life through that lens, like, you know, life is all about suffering and darkness and like these things. So, and I also said, like, you know, human or consciousness, like, you know, zoom in to, I don't know if it's the right expression for this, but expands or zoom in to whatever you focus on. So my life was, like, you know, built around these beliefs, like, you know, and like it got so much dark and hard and painful and suffocating. But you know what happened was, like, you know, I was just sick of it. Like, you know, I knew this is bad for me and this is not working out for me. So I allowed myself to this idea of, like, you know, life is miraculous, beautiful, awesome. Like, you know, I started to focus on positive side of life, tried to see my life as such, because that was foreign idea to me at that moment, because I used to believe the opposite the entire time. For the entire time I was, from the moment I was born up to that point of my life, so 20 something years. So yeah, that was, and I'm still trying to, you know, that old version of myself sometimes comes back to me, and you know, it's so much less time compared to before, but it still does, and I'm okay with that, and it is what it is. So what I'm trying to say is I'm still working on it, but once I allowed myself to, you know, just flip the coin, and not flip the coin, it's not the right expression, but you know, flip it, like do the opposite of what I used to believe in, you know, negative beliefs. I flipped them all, not flip them all, but I tried to flip them all, and like, you know, my life is so much like easier, effortless, fun, enjoyable, and miraculous, beautiful thing right now. So what I'm trying to say here is just you don't need to hold on to one specific idea or one way to interpret things or one way to see things. There's like a myriad of ways and, like, you know, see things, the ways of thinking, or you know, there's like so much potentials and so much like possibilities out there. So you just don't need to hold on to just one thing, and especially if it's not serving you anymore, or it's not doing anything good for you. You know, just let it go. I know it's way easier said than done, trust me, I know that, but why would you keep holding on to that if it's suffocating you, if it's harming you, if it's not serving you anymore? And reality is just reflecting back to you, and you are saying things, you are experiencing things, you know, negative things, because, you know, reality is just reflection of your inner world, what is happening inside of you. So, you know, it is just telling you that, oh, maybe you have this belief or this thing, so you might want to let it go, and you might want to create some space for next new things to come into your life. And you deserve so much more, and so much better, so much greater, because you just deserve it. The fact that you are here right now watching this video, you are existing here on this planet, that means you're worthy. That means you're worthy. So yeah, I just wanted to share this with you. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and I just hope you have wonderful, mystical, awesome, great morning, lunchtime, bedtime, weekend, weekdays, whenever you're watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much, and I love you so much, and I will talk to you very soon.